Hello, Greta. You don't know me, but my name is David. I hope one day we will meet. I don't know if that day will ever happen. I don't know if I will survive. This has got into your hands because a friend of yours, somebody you trust, has shared this with you, as I have shared this with people that I trust. And between these people, there is a line of trust, person to person. The reason why I'm asking for people to share this and for you to be watching this now is because of where you are, where I am, relatively. To tell you the truth, Greta, I do not have hope for our situation globally. Nevertheless, I do have a tool which might be useful for you, people who have hope. Because the tool is just a mechanism. And it is definitely the people who use it, how they use it, and the skills that they learn in using it, which will determine the future of the world. The tool is an alternative economic. Now, I've been a maths teacher. I'm not an economist. I've never taken a power position of any kind. I'm a nobody. I live beside a Quakers community, and as yet the tool is untested. However, it has been built. I've risked my own money, as well as other people's money in building it. The tool is an alternative economic. It changes the very basis of how it is that people have used money. And I believe it is the use of money which has caused a lot of our problems. So if we change the basic axioms of money, it allows us to engage in a different way. Or it allows us to track how we engage, how we work together to achieve objectives, mutual objectives. There's no buying and selling with this economic, and yet there is money. There's no advertising or marketing. There's only personal recommendation and trust. The line of trust between the people who have shared this till this is in your hands. In fact, you've received this video and you may notice that you've also received money. Because of the fact that it's not about buying and selling, you can't really rightly call it money. However, it has a one-to-one relationship with money. And if the tool works, people will find it is more useful to have credits, this form of money, than it is to have traditional money. So much so that it is possible, if the tool really works, that people will convert all their money into credits, and we shall be using credits only. And this might happen over something which is quite unrealistic to anybody of my age or anybody, basically an adult, to think that this might happen within 2 decades, within a generation. So by the time that you're now, when I'm recording this, you're 16, so I don't know how long this might take for you to get this. It might take years. But if you are 16 when you're watching this, that means it's 2019, 2020, something like that, then we're talking about by 2040, we might have a completely alternative economic operating on this world. And because of the way this operating system works, it means there are no companies, governments, but there are people just working together, as we do normally, to achieve mutual objectives, making sure we have education, we have water supplies, we have electricity, and so on and so forth. It won't be fair, still, but given the right tools, perhaps another decade or two after that, it might actually be fair. I don't know. All I know is what the tool does. I'm not going to go into what the tool does. It is an alternative economic, and you're actually using it now. You're watching this. What I wanted to share with you is that just two things. I had a dream the other day. I'd like to describe that. And I read an article. The article was about our recycling and how we outsource recycling to places like China. And then China in 2018 basically stopped that happening. So they were no longer to process our waste, the Western waste. And then we've tried to effectively sell our garbage on to other countries, Malaysia being one, various others. That's getting harder to do. So the whole notion of what we were doing with recycling in the UK, maybe in other places in Europe, just was really recycling. A lot of good things have happened, and there's something like 9% of all our rubbish is actually recycled. And there are one or two, the article pointed out one or two developments, for example, the organisms that can consume plastics, and also certain types of algae, I think it is, that can convert plastics into kind of like a monomer. So basically, which we can then use again. So there are potentials. But I'm not a great believer in technology by itself solving things. So even though I've developed a tool, which is a piece of technology, I know that the most important thing is the people, how we're using it. So the solution is not really the tool. So the problems we face with plastic, the idea of, for example, having a little microorganism that we develop in a test tube and then we put it out into the seas, and it apparently is really good and it dissolves the plastics. That would be fantastic. And then we find out there's a consequential problem which kills most life in the seas. And that's what happens with technology. Technology is a limited use case. We don't really know how a lot of these technologies work in the wild. You're probably aware of some of these issues. So this article was informative, but I'd already known most of it. But the actual revealing of how badly it was going in terms of the outsourcing of the plastics was disheartening. The fact that 80%, however many billions of tons we produce daily or a year, and 80% of it is, only 20% of it potentially, maximum, the best estimates, recycled. That's 80% every year just adding to the plastic problem. But that's just one problem, and there are many. We cannot look for specific solutions to specific problems like that. Hence, I've looked at, I came up with, I think the problem is ours, socially. So we have to improve our social engagement. So that's why I was a maths teacher. I was interested in self-organizing systems. And I got amazing results with kids in classrooms, not because they were kids, well, partly because they were kids, but because they were willing to try things out. And based on their experiments and experiences, I thought, yes, we have potential of producing amazing solutions in the world. However, the classroom is within a whole structure, and I haven't been able to change the structure of education. And so education continues going on, which is inefficient and ineffective to deal with the level of problems that we're facing. And that's me speaking as an educationalist. You may have your own experience and understanding of education, and I'm sure aspects of it have gone really well, but I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there's lots of people that don't do very well through education. And even the ones that do are basically taking on the machinery and the reins of control of our current systems, which are inefficient and ineffective, dealing with levels of problems we're facing. I just wanted to say that the article was powerful as an indicator of just one of the problems we face, a major one, and our inability to resolve it with the current conditions and the systems we've got. The other one was a dream, and I woke up from it disturbed. The dream consisted of me, I can't remember what happened before, but I ended up watching a television show. And it was a news report, and it was about bombing some part of the world. And I don't normally watch the news. However, I do feel responsible for example, children. And it showed the bombing, and then it showed a bedroom. And the camera was kind of moving, panning through the bedroom, over bed. It was piled up with things, cushions and things, pillows and duvets. And as it was panning, I thought, it's not going to show us. It's not going to show us a child. And the bombing was going on around the building. Okay. And so it was like a bedroom in an environment where there was bombs going on. And it was possibly inevitable that the building was going to blow up. So it could have been news, it must have been a fiction. But what happens if it was somebody recording this? But the point is, it's a dream. But while you're experiencing a dream, you think it's real. So there I was, following this, and just watching, and then kind of forgetting I was watching a TV show or drama or whatever it was, and actually just going, they're not going to show a child. They're not going to show a child there. Because I didn't want to see this. I didn't want to see that this was happening. And the camera panned up slowly. And there it was. It was a face. And it was a child. And they were frightened. And they were hiding. Cushions. Pillows, it's protection. And it wasn't a scream. It was the source of a scream. It was an unwillingness, an empathy, a passion, an extreme allergy, spiritually, to it. And I remember it was a mixture of leaving the room that the child was in and going outside of the corridor, and kind of always like continuing this kind of scream that didn't even get to the point where it got verbal, where it actually issued from the mouth. It was just a spiritual kind of expression. Or I'd escaped from the television and I'd left the room, wherever I was, and I was in a corridor and I was feeling this thing. And then I exited from the dream, from the corridor, and I woke up with this existential and I reflected on it and thought, was I objecting to the fact that was happening in the world? Was I objecting to the fact that they were filming it and they just wanted to show me? Was I objecting to the fact that I didn't want to know and then they were just confronting me with it? I don't know. Was it the actual thing, or was it the fact that I didn't want to know about it and I was being confronted with it? And so those two experiences have been quite challenging for me. And I feel as if I would like to share that with people. And I attend a Quakers group, which is we sit in silence for an hour and we contemplate. And we get ourselves into a state of readiness, a reception. For God, some people say, or just receptive state, together. And somebody's allowed to stand up and speak. And I was thinking I will do that. At the Quakers meeting, I will stand up and speak about these experiences. But I knew that I couldn't, really. Because it's not just about sharing, an article I read, or this dream I had, my own experience of these things, my response. It's to do with, I cannot help but think that we have to stop dreaming. Or dreaming's good. We have to stop pretending things are okay. That, you, for example, have the power to do anything. The people around you. The rising momentum of people who believe that it's possible to change. When the actual mechanisms around any social movement, wave, is effectively defeating us. There will be change. okay, you will produce, and you already have produced good effects, provided people with inspiration and hope, mobilized, given people, adults and organizations, the excuse to pressurize other people, governments, and so on and so forth to put into place things. It's also, for example, aligned to people that have been working in the UK on the Extinction Rebellion. They've been working on that for a while. And to kind of you've sparked something. And that is in the process of affecting change. However, I'm old and I've seen things, and I'm sorry, but I believe that from my perspective, change will occur. It'll be good, but it won't be enough. It won't be enough to prevent the seas being poisoned, or whales being killed, or the large mammals in Africa, their land being taken away, and lots of disorder. Perhaps even critical things like nuclear bombs dropping because of ridiculous politics the adults are playing. Because we're trapped in the social structures that we're in. So unless we change the social structures, now I'm not a believer in hope. What I do is I say, well, let's just change one aspect of these structures and see what happens. I did that with kids in classrooms. The trouble is, to do that with adults is trickier, because the thing that I believe we have to change is, for example, money. Not for example, money. It's one of the things. And so that's what the tool does. It changes how money operates. That's what it does. It's a small little change. But the consequence of that, and our using it, might enable us to learn how to behave with each other in a different way, how to organize ourselves and achieve mutual objectives in a way which has, if got money flow, but there's no buying and selling, and there's no employment. Now, for you to be listening this far is not because of me. The only reason that you're listening to this is because a friend of yours has said, have a look at this. It's your trust in your friend. That's why you're watching this. It's their trust in you. That's why they give it to you. And that's it. It's our relationships. That is the most important thing. That's why you're paying attention to this. And I thank you. I thank you, and I thank your friend for having that level of trust. And that's where I place things. I place things between us, not within people. Okay? We have very limited control and power within ourselves, but together, things happen. So, if we have an economic, and an economic is something to do with what happens between us. If we have a number system, we use money in a slightly different way, which enumerates some aspect of the relationship between people, i.e. trust. It means we have an economic based on trust. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. I've revealed this aspect and these experiences that I've had. So I have no interest and import to the world. It's just me, David, having some experiences. One a dream, reading an article, having a tool, an economic tool. What you do with this tool is up to you. I would suggest having a look at it. I would suggest giving it a go. If it's got to you, if this video has got to you, then it's worked. Some aspect of it has worked. Amazing. That should be proof that something interesting is happening here. But it won't really mean a huge amount to you unless you start sharing something. So perhaps you'll produce a video, perhaps you'll write an article, and then you'll share it through the tool. And you'll share it with a few trusted people, and then you see where it goes. That will be your experience of whether this tool works. What will you be asking? What will you be writing? What will you be saying? And it might be slightly different. It might be something that previously it would be impossible to do. there's something about actions are possible with this new tool that even I haven't even seen. But because you have hope, that means that you might be able to see things that currently are beyond the ability of other people to see. And other people might have that too. Perhaps you might encourage people to provide those as potential solutions. I don't know. I do not know. Okay. I'm just supplying the tool, and you have hope, and you're young. So, good luck, is all I can say. If I never have the opportunity to meet you in person, which is likely, I wish you the best of luck. I wish all teenagers the best of luck as they grow into awareness and join the rest of the adults that are on this planet and bring the changes that are required. To bring listening and courage to discern from what the adults are saying, what we retain, and what we have to let go. The courage to put these into practice. I wish you well. That's it. Thanks for listening.